will Trump's corruption be the fatal flaw that even MAGA can't defend? And I start the piece out by pointing out that if you want to take down Trump, one of the most effective ways would be to paint him with the brush of corruption. And, I know this firsthand. I mean, the one of the defining characteristics of banana republics and dictatorships alike, and they tend to overlap a lot and often are the same thing, is that they are corrupt. Their governments are corrupt. Their people are corrupt. I've seen this over and over and over again. I for over a decade, I did international relief work with an international charity based out of Germany. And, we were on the border of Darfur during that mass slaughter. I was in Uganda during the famine that followed the civil war there. I worked in deeply impoverished rural Russia. I've worked in Southeast Asia. I was in Colombia, where I met men who were in a hunt club where they'd go out on the weekends with high-powered rifles to shoot feral children. I've seen it all. I've had babies die in my arms. We took over a leper colony in India, a community for a blind child. I've been there. And the one thing that I keep finding in every one of these really poor or countries, frankly, run by dictators, is that they're corrupt. I mean, I had a meeting with the Haitian minister, de la santé publique et de la population. Forgive my terrible French, but he's the equivalent of our HHS secretary, about our organization building a facility for orphans there. And his first request within 10 minutes of sitting down with me was for a $15,000 bribe. We turned it down, by the way. The guy running the office in the Ugandan embassy to Kenya, I keep coming back day after day. Finally, on the third day, he made it clear I was not going to get my visa until I gave him a bribe. When I was flying back from Entebbe, from Uganda, the airport, there was no electricity, no water. There'd just been a war there, right? I mean, parts of the ceiling tiles were hanging down. There were bullet holes in the walls. The windows were shot out. There was no electricity. And there were these three soldiers standing there, where you go through customs, and all of them with AK-47s. And the guy in the middle just tilts, grabs the clip and tilts his gun down so it's almost resting on the tip of my nose and says, "How much money do you have?" And I said, "Well, a couple thousand shillings," which is about $50. Was what I had with me at the time. And he says, "Give us half." And as I'm pulling my money out of my pocket to give to the three of them, which they were chuckling and splitting up, he says, "I could kill you right now and nobody would ever know or care." And I was like, "Yeah, you could." I mean, I had a traffic cop in rural Central America, get a wad of cash out of me because I was going 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. I have had government officials in the Philippines, in Peru, and Thailand suggest, although not demand like in Haiti, that they be happy to help us do our good works if there was something in it for them. So these were all transactional, as the media likes to call Trump. And, this is what Trump has brought to America. I mean, give Mohammed bin Salman cover for murdering Jamal Khashoggi and your son-in-law gets $2 billion. Help fund and facilitate a Trump resort in Oman and your country gets U.S. weaponry. Publicly grovel in front of Trump and you have a better chance of getting what you want than poor Mr. Zelensky, who merely came with $10 billion saying, "I'd like to buy some surface air, some air defense Patriot missiles." And Trump is still refusing to sell them to him. And now we've got the most grotesque recent example. This was just yesterday's Wall Street Journal, quote, "Vietnam, which has a surplus of more than $120 billion with the U.S. and saw tariffs on its goods rise to 46% on Liberation Day, shows how anxious countries are to stave off the duties. It pushed through the authorization of Starlink, the satellite internet service owned by Elon Musk, a close Trump advisor, and it accelerated the approvals for a $1.5 billion Trump resort." So Trump is going to be getting money from the government of Thailand and developers in Thailand. And you think the duties on Thailand, the tariffs on Thailand are going to go away? Sure looks that way. There was a Chinese billionaire who was under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission for securities fraud and market manipulation. And he simply invested $30 million in World Liberty Financial. This is a Trump company where 75% of all the money invested just goes right into Donald's pocket. And suddenly the SEC is no longer interested in investigating this Chinese billionaire. I mean, Trump is just open about his corruption. Remember when he stood in front of a group of fossil fuel industry executives and said, give me $1 billion and I'll get rid of all your regulations and we'll just talk drill, baby, drill all the time everywhere? He's doing it. They gave him the money. They didn't give him everything he wanted, but they gave him a lot. They gave him the money and he's given them the deregulation and the tax breaks. And here's another example. Every other democracy in the world does your taxes for you. In Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Finland, your taxes come all pre-filled out. They would fit on a postcard. And all you have to do is text a message to a telephone number or go online and click a button and say, yeah, that's right. Or no, there's some changes. You missed something. In Germany, the Netherlands, the UK, and France, they mail them to you. And you just have to sign it and mail it back. That's it. In Estonia, which is like one of the digital forefronts of the developed world, filing takes like 3 minutes and it's done with a simple online form that a fifth grader could fill out. But here in the United States, well, first off, here in the United States, Democrats thought, hey, this is a great idea. Why don't we do it here in the United States like they do in France or the Netherlands or Norway or Denmark, or, and just have the IRS do your taxes for you. They've got all the information after all. And they've got computers that can crunch it. No human being needs to be involved. Just have the IRS do it and mail it to you, and you can look at it and say, yeah, this is right, or no, hey, you made a mistake. And if it's right, you don't have to do anything, or you just click a button on an online form like every place else. But oh no, you've got a bunch of tax prep companies. This is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry that shovels millions of dollars to Republican politicians every year. So the Trump administration, so Democrats had put into place during the Biden administration this program where the IRS would do your taxes for you. And Trump just killed it because the tax prep people, Intuit just donated $1 million to his campaign, his inaugural slush fund. So how the hell did we get here? From the 30s to the 80s, government pretty much did what people wanted in the United States. We got Social Security, the right to unionize, the minimum wage, restrictions on child labor, mandatory overtime pay. The TVA brought electricity to Appalachia. The FHA made housing affordable. The SEC protected small investors. There were 2 different GI bills, the National School Lunch Act, the Interstate Highway System, Medicare, Medicaid, Civil Rights, Voting Rights Act, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which built hundreds or thousands of new schools, Head Start, food stamps, Truth in Lending Act, OSHA, the EPA, WIC, Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Wilderness Act, etc. Lots of stuff got done for the American people between 1930 and 1980. And then Reagan came into power. The Supreme Court said in 78 in the Bellotti decision, money is speech and corporations are persons. And the Republicans came into power, and that was it. I've been doing this show for 22 years as of last month. We're in our 23rd year now. And all this time, I've had this contest. If you can find a single piece of legislation that was authored by Republicans, principally co-sponsored by Republicans, passed Congress with a Republican majority, signed by a Republican president, that benefited average working people in America since 1980, you win the prize, an autographed book of your choice. And nobody has won that prize on any kind of substantial legislation that helps everybody. There just isn't any. We haven't done anything for average working people. We've screwed average working people. Wages have been flat since the 80s. But billionaires, we've got a whole brand new crop of billionaires. Alexei Navalny nearly took down Vladimir Putin with his anti-corruption foundation. That's the Achilles heel of autocrats, is their corruption. So I'm saying Democrats need to revive Senator William Proxmire. I believe he was a Republican, but whatever. They need to revive his famous Golden Fleece Awards and start pointing out these really egregious examples of government corruption. Corruption is Trump's weak point. It's his Achilles heel. And Democrats need to start, and the press need to start pointing this stuff out because there's examples of it literally every day.